Let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with it. If nobody saw it, would you still buy it? If your friends never knew what car you drove, if Instagram didn't exist, if there was no one to impress at the office on Monday morning, would you still have made the same financial decisions you made this year? Here's another one. When was the last time you bought something not because you needed it, not even because you truly wanted it, but because of how it would make you look? And maybe the hardest question of all, are you actually building wealth right now, or are you just building an image of someone who has it? Because here's what nobody talks about. The most broke people in America don't look broke. They look great. New car, nice apartment, fresh outfit, newest phone. And somewhere underneath all of that, a credit card balance that hasn't been paid in full in 3 years, a savings account with less than a month's expenses, and a quiet anxiety that follows them to sleep every night. If any part of that landed differently than you expected, stay with me, because what we're about to get into isn't about shame, it's about clarity. And clarity, when it finally hits, is one of the most powerful things a person can feel. Let's start with something called ego spending. This is money you spend not on experiences, not on things that genuinely improve your life, but on the version of yourself you want other people to see. And before you say, "That's not me," I want you to understand something. Ego spending isn't always obvious. It doesn't always look like a Ferrari in the driveway. Sometimes it looks like upgrading to the newest iPhone when your current one works perfectly fine. Sometimes it looks like buying a $200 dinner when you had $300 in checking. Sometimes it looks like the outfit you bought specifically for one event, not because you needed it, but because the photos were going to end up on Instagram. The ego is a brilliant financial saboteur. It disguises itself as self-care. It disguises itself as, "I work hard, I deserve this." And both of those things are true. You do work hard and you do deserve good things. But the ego isn't interested in what you deserve. It's interested in what other people will think. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called status anxiety. It's this constant low-level fear that we're falling behind, that we're not measuring up, that if people knew what was really in our bank account, they'd look at us differently. And what do humans do with anxiety? They soothe it. And in America, one of the most socially acceptable ways to soothe status anxiety is to spend money on visible things, on things with logos, on things that signal without words, "I'm doing fine, more than fine, I'm doing great." The tragedy is, and this is where it gets psychologically fascinating, the relief you feel is real. When you swipe that card or drive off the lot in that new car, there's a genuine neurological reward, dopamine, pride, a momentary quiet from that low hum of anxiety. The problem is it fades, often within weeks, sometimes days, and then the anxiety returns, a little louder than before, now with a monthly payment attached. Let's talk about cars, because cars are where this becomes devastatingly real for most Americans. The average new car payment in the United States right now is over $700 a month. $700. That's before insurance, which on a newer financed vehicle can run $150 to $200 or more. So you're looking at potentially $900 a month, nearly $11,000 a year, just to drive something that looks a certain way. Here's what $700 a month invested consistently over 10 years can look like. The math, depending on market returns, can grow that into something close to $160,000. Not a guarantee, not a promise, but a very real possibility that most people never even consider because nobody's romanticizing the index fund. Nobody posts their brokerage account to Instagram. Nobody gets a raised eyebrow at the gym for being a long-term investor. But a new car, the car turns heads. The car feels like proof. Proof of what, exactly? That's the question worth sitting with. The credit card illusion works the same way, just at higher speed. There's research showing that people spend measurably more when paying with a card versus cash. When you swipe, your brain doesn't register loss the same way it does when you hand over physical bills. The friction is gone. The pain of paying disappears. And the industry knows this. They've built an entire system on the fact that you'll spend more when it doesn't feel real, and then pay interest, sometimes 24, 26, 29%,
for the privilege of that feeling. Social media accelerated all of this to a speed that our brains genuinely aren't wired for. We weren't designed to compare ourselves to thousands of people simultaneously. For most of human history, you might compare yourself to a few dozen people in your immediate community. Now you're comparing yourself to curated highlight reels of thousands, and your nervous system processes that comparison as if it's immediate and real. Every post is a quiet pressure. Every vacation photo someone else shares creates a tiny pull. Every car, bag, house, and dinner becomes a data point that your brain unconsciously measures you against. Lifestyle inflation is the slow version of all of this, and it might be the most dangerous because it feels so reasonable in the moment. You get a raise, you upgrade the apartment. You get another raise, you upgrade the car. Your income grows, and your spending somehow always expands to meet it, sometimes exceed it. The raises never seem to change how financially secure you feel, because security was never really the goal. Comfort was. Appearance was. This is sometimes called the hedonic treadmill. You work harder to earn more, you spend more to match your new income level, and you return to approximately the same emotional baseline, only now with higher fixed expenses and less room to breathe. I want to tell you about two people. Neither of them is famous. Both of them are completely real in the sense that you almost certainly know someone exactly like them. The first person, let's call him Marcus, is 34. He makes $85,000 a year, which in most American cities is a solid, respectable income. Marcus leases a $52,000 SUV. He's got 3 credit cards with a combined balance just under $18,000. His apartment is in one of the nicer buildings in the city, and it runs him $2,400 a month. When you see Marcus, and you've seen Marcus, we all know Marcus, he looks like he's doing well. He's got the watch, he's got the sneakers, he picks up the check at dinner sometimes, not because he can easily afford it, but because the discomfort of not picking it up is worse than the financial damage of picking it up. Marcus doesn't sleep as well as he looks. He's not telling you that, but underneath the surface, there's a number he tries not to think about, his net worth, which after calculating all his debt is actually negative. He is technically worth less than zero, and every month, the gap between his image and his reality quietly widens. Then there's a woman, let's call her Diana, who works in the same industry as Marcus, actually makes slightly less than him. Diana drives a 4-year-old Honda that she owns outright. She lives in a modest apartment. She doesn't talk about money much. She doesn't post about vacations, though she takes them, usually paying cash, usually somewhere she actually wanted to go rather than somewhere that looks good in photos. People who don't know Diana well sometimes assume she's doing okay, maybe even feel a little sorry for her when they see the car. Diana's net worth crossed $200,000 2 years ago. She's 36. Nobody's asking Diana for financial advice at dinner parties. Nobody's looking at her car with curiosity or admiration. She is not a visible symbol of success by American cultural standards. She is, however, free, profoundly, quietly, almost invisibly free. The turning point, and I really want you to feel this, the turning point comes when you finally get honest about who you've been spending for, because it's not you. It's almost never you, genuinely you, the person you are alone at midnight with your real thoughts. You would probably be fine with less. Most people, when they strip away the comparison and the performance and the anxiety, find that their actual desires are much simpler and much cheaper than the life they've been financing. What you've been spending for is a character, a performed version of yourself designed to be seen favorably by people many of whom you don't particularly like, many of whom aren't thinking about you nearly as much as you fear. The classic observation, and it's almost painful in how true it is that we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people who don't care, and we do it again and again, and we call it living. There's a moment that happens for some people. It doesn't always look dramatic from the outside. It might happen in a parking lot after an impulse buy. It might happen staring at a credit card statement. It might happen reading something like this. And in that moment, something shifts. The performance stops feeling worth it. The gap between who you're pretending to be and who you're actually becoming starts to feel too wide to justify. That's not a moment of failure. That is the beginning of something real. Because wealth, actual, quiet, lasting wealth, is built in the space between what you could spend and what you choose not to. It's built in the boring months where nothing looks impressive from the outside, but the number in your account grows. It's built when you stop making financial decisions with your ego and start making them with your future. It's built when you realize that the most powerful financial tool you have isn't your income, it's your willingness to stop performing. The people who build real wealth over time aren't always the highest earners. They're often just the people who got comfortable enough with themselves to stop spending money on proving something to everyone else. They found a way, and this takes real psychological work, real self-awareness, to separate their identity from their consumption, to know that what they own is not who they are. That is genuinely hard in a culture that tells you at every turn that the two things are the same.
So where do you go from here? You don't have to blow up your life. You don't have to sell everything. This isn't about deprivation. It's about intention. It's about asking every single time, not just sometimes, every time, is this purchase for me or is it for an audience? If it's for an audience, make yourself wait 48 hours. You'll be shocked how often the desire disappears when the performance pressure lifts. If you find the desire is still there 2 days later, genuinely still there, buy it. Enjoy it. But buy it consciously, not reflexively. Buy it because it adds to your life, not because it adds to your image. Start making a few financial decisions that nobody will ever see. Move money into savings and don't tell anyone. Pay down a balance quietly. Skip the upgrade. Drive the paid-off car another year. Do it in private, without an audience. That feeling you get, that specific feeling of choosing your future over your image, remember that feeling. It's the closest thing to financial freedom that most people ever experience before they actually have it. If you've been watching this and you're ready to go deeper, to actually understand the psychology of money and how to start making it work for you instead of working for it, subscribe, because this is what we do here. Not hype, not get rich quick, real conversations about money, behavior, and what it actually takes to build a life that's worth living. You can spend your whole life looking like you've made it, or you can spend it actually getting there. Stop performing wealth, start building it.